Hello and welcome. Today, we're diving into a single principle that can totally change how you see things. It's about moving from feeling like you're just a passenger along for the ride to actually being the one in the driver's seat of your own life.
You ever have that feeling? That sense of being completely powerless, like life is just this series of events happening to you, totally out of your control. It feels like all you can do is react, just getting bounced around by circumstances, by what other people decide, or maybe just by plain bad luck. It is such a frustrating place to be, right?
Well, this feeling really boils down to two very different mindsets. Over on the left, you've got the passenger mindset. This is the victim perspective. It's all about things are happening to me, or, well, they made me do it. Look, it's a way of seeing the world that's totally built on blame and excuses. And while it might feel a little easier in the short term, it just chips away at your power and keeps you completely stuck.
So how do we make that shift? How do we get out of that passenger seat? Well, the key is what we're talking about today, the principle of responsibility. And I want to be super clear here. This is not about blame. It's not some heavy, guilty burden. Think of it as the fundamental organizing principle for a healthy inner life. It's the framework that lets us take the wheel again.
And what's so crucial to understand is that this isn't just about owning the final result of your actions. It's about owning the entire process. It starts way back in your inner world with your thoughts, with your motives, and it extends all the way out to your outer world, the words you actually say, the things you actually do. It's owning the whole chain from start to finish.
And this quote just nails the stakes. When we dodge responsibility, we're basically cutting the wire in our own minds between cause and effect. I mean, think about it. If our actions lead to a certain outcome, but we tell ourselves, nope, wasn't my fault, what do we learn? Absolutely nothing. We're just doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over because we refuse to see our part in creating them in the first place.
Okay, so this all sounds good in theory, but how do we actually do it? How do we make this practical? Well, the principle breaks down into 5 specific, concrete areas where you can start taking ownership, like right now.
Yeah, this isn't some vague, fuzzy concept. We can apply this principle of responsibility to 5 really tangible parts of our lives. We're going to use these 5 areas as our roadmap for taking back control.
First up, and you could argue it's the most important, is our thoughts. This is the starting line. This is where it all begins. Because everything that eventually shows up on the outside starts as a little seed on the inside, in our minds.
I mean, think about it for a second. That complaint you keep replaying in your head, it doesn't stay in there forever. Eventually, it comes out as a sharp, harsh word. That victim mindset, it becomes the fuel for an endless stream of blame and excuses. So really, the first act of responsibility is to become the gatekeeper of your own mind. What are you letting grow in there? Because that, right there, is going to determine your direction.
All right, the second area of responsibility is our words. We tend to be so casual with them, right? But they are these incredibly powerful tools that literally create the world around us. Our words aren't just for sending information back and forth. They create the atmosphere in our relationships. They can build trust and safety, or they can tear it all down. A sharp word can leave a scar that lasts for years. And you know that phrase, a thoughtless comment? There is no such thing. Every word is an action, every word has an impact, and we are responsible for that impact.
The third area is probably the most obvious one, but it's still one we try to get out of all the time, our actions. This is about what we actually do, or maybe what we failed to do out in the world. And here's what's so vital to remember. Our actions are choices. Saying something like, I just didn't feel like it, or I was tired. Okay, that might be a reason, but it's not a justification. It doesn't magically erase the impact on the person who was counting on you. When it comes down to it, our actions are the tangible, physical proof of what's going on inside.
Area 4 gets a little bit more subtle, but oh man, is it powerful. It's our attitude, that message that walks into the room long before we ever even open our mouths.
Your tone of voice, the look on your face, your body language, all of this is broadcasting a message loud and clear. A cold silence can feel way more punishing than an angry shout, and that's exactly why the excuse, hey, I didn't say anything, is such a classic dodge. Oh, you said plenty. You said it with your dismissal, with your impatience, with your cold shoulder. We are responsible for that atmosphere we create. And finally, we get to the deepest and maybe the most challenging area of responsibility, our motives. This is the why behind the what. This is where the real work is. You can do a good thing for a completely self-serving reason. Are you helping other people just to get noticed? Are you being devoted to someone as a way to control them?
Are you fighting for justice because you actually just want to win and defeat the other person? Owning our motives, that's the ultimate level of getting back in the driver's seat.
Okay, so we've gone through the 5 areas. Now, let's get real. What happens when we mess up? Because we will. How do we move out of that destructive cycle of blame and get on a constructive path of recovery?
First, we have to learn to recognize the language of irresponsibility. Just listen for these phrases. That's just who I am. That's a total refusal to grow. You're being too sensitive. That's just shifting the blame for the hurt you caused. I had no other choice. That denies your own power to choose. These are all giant red flags that we're trying to escape our responsibility.
So what's the alternative? It's this beautiful, simple, 4-step process. It starts with acknowledging, just admitting, you know what, I have a part in this. Then you clarify your part. What was it? A thought, a word, an attitude? Get really specific. Third, you correct it. You take action to change. And finally, you work to restore trust, maybe by apologizing or making amends.
And this brings us to our final and maybe the most important idea of all. Applying this principle isn't about becoming perfect. It's about completely redefining what success even looks like in the first place.
Now, this slide right here is absolutely crucial. The goal is not to be a perfect person who never makes mistakes. That's impossible. The goal is to be a responsible person, and what that really means is you become quick to recover. You admit faults instead of instantly defending it. You focus on your part instead of pointing out theirs. You choose honesty over just trying to look good. Now that is real strength.
So, let's end with this. Don't try to fix everything all at once. Just think of one relationship in your life right now that feels stuck or a little difficult, and ask yourself, what's the 1%? What is the single thought, word, action, or attitude, just your tiny part of the problem that you can take full responsibility for, starting today? Because that is how you get back in the driver's seat.